Welcome into another edition of WRAL Triangle and Two. I'm Mark Bergen. He's Luis Fernandez. And Luis, I'm very excited for today's guest because it's a basketball player I grew up watching growing up in the Chicago suburbs.
No, you talked a lot about how excited you were to talk with our guest today. So I'm pumped for you too. A lot of ACC basketball history as well. We're going to be talking about, so it's going to be great.
Absolutely. And he's a Duke legend, former NBA point guard as well, now the head coach at Gaston Christian School in Gastonia, North Carolina. Welcome in, Chris Duhon. Chris, thank you for taking the time for us here this afternoon on WRAL Triangle and Two. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys, and thanks for having me.
Luis, do you want to jump right in, or do you want me to get first crack at first
Sure, I
question?
can go ahead and get started. So Chris, want to talk about the current first, and then we can move on to the Duke and the past and all that stuff. Your high school basketball coach now. Why is that? What's that like, having the opportunity to coach the next generation of athletes coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. My wife and I, we just moved to the Charlotte area last year. Because she's a math professor, so she got a job at Davidson College. And we've always talked about making North Carolina home. My mom lives here, so it was just kind of the last push we needed to be like, all right, let's just go ahead and do it. And then this opportunity came up. My oldest son is going to be a freshman this year, and he was like, "Dad, I want you to coach me. That'll be awesome." And it's kind of like, all right, got to be careful what you wish for, one of those type of things. And then, but like I said, opportunity came about, and just going there, interacting with the kids, the school, everyone at the school. Just found, seemed like a really, really good fit, and I'm excited about it.
How do you balance being dad versus being coach? I know you're going to be really excited to coach your son, who's an incoming freshman, but how do you balance those two roles?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and I'm still kind of, learning as I go, with that. I already told him, like, you can't be calling me dad on the court. That's going to make everybody run. So he's been, really consistent in not doing that as well. And I also told him, especially like even before I took the job as dad, he's actually in the toughest position. Just because of being the coach's son, he has to do everything,
Mhm.
extremely perfect, or well, not perfect. Obviously, no one's perfect, but he has to, go above and beyond, to kind of prove himself, to give him an opportunity to play. Obviously with other parents and kids there, there's the stigma that, oh, he's only playing because he's the coach's son. So we've had that conversation, and that's something that has been motivating him. So working on the dad coach thing is it's been fun, but it's and then having a wife that is obviously very protective of her son. So now I got to deal with the dad coach and husband thing. So it's definitely a learning experience for me. I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about it for him as well. And we'll figure it out.
It's funny because there's this, and obviously being a player, I don't know what your perspective on this is, but when as a fan of the game of basketball, it feels like we're in the middle of a changing of generations where you're seeing a lot of the players who are coming up. It's like, oh, oh, that's so and so's son, oh, that's so and so's nephew, whatever it might be. um what's it like for you to see all these different that this next generation of basketball players start to come through and try and leave their mark on the game?
Yeah, no, it just keeps reminding me I'm getting old. We feel like we're going to be young forever. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like amazing, like especially the guys that are in the NBA now, like, Kenyon Martin's son, and then now you're watching LeBron's kids, make their mark, and Carmelo Anthony, Boozer's kids who are still on the high school level who are making their mark. So it's exciting. One, you feel a sense of pride that you're able to play with or also compete against those guys, and now see their kids move on. And just see the difference in the style of games. Like they all kind of are putting their unique style to theirs, to where they're not completely mimicking, their family or their father's games and things like that. So, it's very exciting, and it just grows to show you that everyone is very really invested in their kids being able to, have a chance to compete, at the highest level and achieve their goals. And I'm looking forward to doing the same thing with my son.
Chris, what's it like for you considering you've been a high level player? You've been a coach now at the college level, now going to the high school level. Soon you'll be a parent of a player that other colleges are trying to recruit. At least that's the goal and everything. And you've surrounded yourself with a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players. What is it that you're hoping to pass on to the next generation now in the role as a coach that you learned from great players and great coaches that they taught to you?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, I think one of the main things is just that, to, compete, dedicate yourself. If this is something that you want to do, this is a goal of yours. And then, I tell this to my son all the time, like you have to want it. You have to want it more than I want it for you. If it becomes to a point to where I'm the one waking you up to go get extra shots or, do what you need to do, then you're only going to get so far. All right, so it has to be the opposite. And that's kind of what I tell the guys. I mean, in a way, with this new generation, things are kind of given to them, a lot easier. Everybody wants things to happen right away, without going through the process and the learning curves and the ups and downs that are needed. And I think that helps mature you and grow you as a person and as a player. They want it instantly. So just telling them to be patient is a process, and then there's a price you have to pay. There's the sacrifices that you have to make in order to to get to those higher levels. So that's something that we talk about all the time, and just kind of making sure that when things are not going your way, how to handle adversity, being able to have yourself prepared to be able to handle those moments. And that's kind of what I want to give to this kind of generation.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a step back in the time machine now. Go back to the early 2000s. When you go through and look at your resume, right? I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, most number of X, at the time of leaving Duke, most number of Y at the time of leaving Duke. Like you left your mark, man, on ACC basketball, on Duke basketball. What do you what comes to mind when you think of those days playing for the Blue Devils?
Man, I mean, it was a fun time, man. I was around obviously a great coaching staff. The best that ever did it with Coach K, and at Coach Collins, Chris Collins, who's at Northwestern now, and Johnny Dawkins, who's at UCF, and Wojo now is the head coach of the G League in Salt Lake City. So just that having that staff, and then obviously the players. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better group of guys. I was very fortunate, to play with Shane and Jay and Dunleavy and Boozer and Dante, and then the latter part of my career to play with guys like Daniel, Luol Deng, JJ Redick, and Sheldon Williams, and the list goes on and on. And not only were they really really great basketball players, but they were great people that I'm still friends with today and stay in contact with today. The thing that I loved the most about it was just the competition every day. I mean, you're going against the best of the best every day in practice, and everyone's trying to prove themselves and put their stamp on the team, and playing for playing time, and everything wasn't safe. So being able to have those moments every single day at practice, a lot of people can't mimic that. A lot of people can't mimic having those type of practices around great talent every single day. So, those are the things I kind of miss the most, is just, the pickup games. And, even when we're in practice and we're doing situational basketball, being able to, competing with those guys. And, again, guys were competitive. So, everything for bragging rights counted, and just grew us closer together as a team.
What was your, when you think back to it, what was your welcome to the ACC moment where you were like, oh man, okay, this is a different level of basketball that I'm used to?
This moment, man. I mean, my freshman year, I mean, the ACC was loaded. I would think for me was, and I don't know, a lot of people remember. There's a guy, Will Solomon, played for Clemson, and I mean, he was just a straight bucket getter. And we played them, and it was just like, okay, this this guy is different, right? So, he that was on a more of a personal note, but then, I mean, just the gauntlet that you were going through. I mean, one day you're playing Maryland, and the next day, you're at Virginia, which, they were really, really good. Then you're playing Wake Forest with, uh, Chris Paul and those guys, and then you're, going and you're playing UNC, and then it was just, nonstop competition throughout the league, and it was just kind of like, not only this league is different, because there's really no cupcakes, in your conference at all, and every single game matters because that's just how talented everybody was.
So, Chris, you mentioned the obviously having a great coaching staff that surrounded you. Uh, what was it like being coached by Coach K? Like, I feel like every Duke player is going to get asked this at some point in time. Like, it feels so obvious. But what was your relationship like with him, and what's it like to reflect on having those years with him?
Yeah, I mean, our relationship is great. I mean, one of the great things that Coach K does, which makes him, the best coach, is that he, develops relationships. He's real important on developing relationships with every individual that's there. Not only collectively but individually, and he, makes us earn it. He doesn't give us anything, and he was tough. There was a standard that we had as a program, and then obviously there's a standard that he has for you individually. And anything short of that, he was going to let you know, and knowing that you could push yourself to be better and that you can get better. And that was something that was very, very, important for all of us, because it just taught us, kind of how life is. Like, you're not going to be given anything. Like, you're going to have to put in the work, put in the time, put in the dedication. And, hence that, every year there's going to be a new crop of McDonald's All-Americans coming in. So, like, no matter what you did the season before, that has nothing to do. It was a whole completely new year. He coached every one of my teams completely different. And so just to be able to see him adjust day in and day out and hold everyone accountable, it was just something that, we can take from not only just playing with him, but, things that we can take for the rest of our lives.
So let's go back really quickly then. 2004, this is Roy Williams' first season. And Roy Williams, Coach K, two legendary coaches. You hit the game-winning reverse layup, 6.5 seconds left. What's it like to hit a game-winning shot against a bitter rival? Everyone knows Duke, North Carolina. What's that feeling like as a player?
I mean, that was, you can't ask for anything more, right? And then, especially being a senior, my last time being in that arena, to leave them with, me hitting a layup as the last memory that, they're going to have. It just meant a lot. And, they were obviously really, really good that year. We were really, really good that year. And I mean, the game was incredible, overtime game, but, big shots after big shots. And, just, being in that atmosphere and being in that moment, and to be able to, achieve that was something very special that I get to talk about all the time. And, even though we're rivals, like, a lot of us, are good friends with each other. Like, Felton and I are really good friends. So there's always something I can hang over his head, from any time. It's kind of my ace of spade that I can always pull out and say, hey, you remember that reverse layup that, I put on you to win the game. So, but it was just a great time, a great win for us. But it was great to be a part of that game and a part of that rivalry.
That's fair. I
See,
think
Chris,
that's
what
fair.
you don't know is Lewis is a UNC alum, so.
I don't know. I sensed it with the color shirt, with the collar. Like
Listen, this is a WRAL polo. Okay, it's a professional polo.
I know you have a white one, you have a black one, but you chose to come with the light blue. Like I understand. I'm used to it.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth on that one. Let's go back to Duke. Let's go back to Duke. I guess you can kind of answer this in two parts, right? Who was the best teammate, and interpret best however you'd like. Best teammate you played with at Duke, and then professionally.
Man, that's tough. Like I said, I was around a lot of great guys, and I'm actually fortunate, even in my professional career as well. College. Man, that's tough.
We're gonna make sure everyone else hears who you pick.
Yeah. I know. Best teammate. I mean, I would say as far as best teammate, as far as what it looks like to be in college athlete, play at the highest level, great leadership, great person. Overall, you would have to go with Shane. Shane Bennett, as far as overall how it's supposed to look for a college athlete. Their time, during college, of how where he started as a freshman and continued to grow, and become the player that he became as a senior. And then how he was off the court as well. Like, perfect leader, guy that you can rely on, you always depend on, have your back. So I would go in that aspect. I would go with Shane. NBA, man. Again, I was around a lot of great people. Probably the couple that stand out to me the most were Kirk Heinrich. He and I were at time in Chicago, and Jameer Nelson. And Quentin Richardson. Quentin, we were in New York, and then we were also in Orlando, and then Jameer and I, being together in Orlando. Probably those are the top three guys, NBA wise.
That interesting. I mean, I kind of imagined the Shane Battier answer. Like I kind of expected that. You know what I mean? Just because the dude. I mean, I think he still holds he one of the winningest ACC basketball players of all time. Kirk Heinrich though. All right. You played with a lot of different people too. I guess that's one of the cool things, right, about just professional basketball careers is you have the opportunity to overlap with so many different players. And that's, I don't know, that's really cool from a basketball, someone who just enjoys the game's perspective.
Heinrich's rookie year in 2003, famous draft class, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and everything. Heinrich was the first player in that draft to get a triple-double in a game. And the headline in the Tribune at the time, Chris, I believe Casey Johnson was the beat reporter back then, was Heinrich maneuver was the headline back in 03. I know that was a little bit before your time in the league, but you say all these names, it brings back a lot of great memories. What I wanted to ask you was going from Coach K to Scott Skiles in the NBA. Was that an easier transition? Because I know Skiles was a no-nonsense coach.
Yeah. I mean, I think because Scott was a tough coach. I mean, love Scott Skiles. I think he would have been an amazing college coach just because of the style that he did. And I mean, if you kind of think about it, that team that we were, the baby Bulls, quote unquote, we were basically a college team. I mean, you had myself and Wall from Duke, Kirk from Kansas, who was coached under Roy Williams, Ben Gordon from Coach Calhoun at UConn, Andres Nocioni from Argentina. And, so all of us were really, really young, we're just trying to make our marks in the league and, didn't know kind of how the NBA worked, quote unquote. So he was able to coach us hard, and we didn't know any better. We just, whatever you say, coach, you need us to run through this wall, we're going to run through this wall. Right. And then, obviously surrounded us with like Tyson Chandler and Andy Curry, who had more quote unquote NBA experience, but, we were all older than them because they came straight out of high school. So, it was fun time, but, Coach Kyle, very appreciative of him. Obviously, being a guard, being a guy that had to grind his way, in the NBA with his career. He gave, obviously his guards a lot of, freedom to, kind of run the team and, be who we are. And and he held us accountable. And I think that's one of the things that, obviously learning that from Coach K, that he kind of mimicked, to where, we wanted to be the best defensive team out there. And that was, one of our goals, and that was his goal. And, I tell this story all the time. It's like, those first 20 games, my rookie year, we played a certain coverage on the side, which we called it, icing or blue, to where you keep the ball on the sideline. You don't let the guy go over the top on a pick and roll. And, if that happened, if, the guard was able to get over the top, bam, you was sub. You sub right out. And then, if the next person did it, he'll put you right back in. So, it got to a point to where, you're sitting on the bench and you're watching, like he didn't even have to call you. You just start walking to the scorer's table. The person who, didn't do it the right way, they already knew who the sub was coming for. And then, once we developed it, it was, genius in a way, because now it was in our heads. So we're like, nah, I don't care what happened. There's no way you're getting over the screen. And then it just kind of developed that mindset and mentality for us, to where, then obviously after that, he gave us a little bit more leeway, because, again, you're still going against the best guards, in the world. So they're going to find ways to, maneuver and get their ways over screens. But, just the accountability and, holding us to a standard part. He did an amazing job with that.
Chris, I think you're in a really unique position, I feel like, just in terms of basketball, because of you're a high school coach, because you've had this college experience, you've had this professional experience, and basketball has changed so much, is continuing to change so much, both from like a game perspective, but also just from an industry perspective, if you will. So if I want you to put on your coaching hat, your dad hat, really, if you could offer any piece of advice to someone who is trying to make a transition from high school to college basketball, someone who's about to take that next step, what advice would you give them? What advice would you tell them? Don't listen to that. Focus on this.
Mhm. I would tell them, my, main advice is, wherever you're deciding to go, make sure it's a fit for you, style of play, your relationship with the coach, assistant coaches, get on campus, be around the players a little bit, kind of get a feel for, how the culture is, that type of thing, to where you're making the best decision for you and not what the university can offer you, basically. Because, every university, they're car salesmen. They're going to tell you everything's perfect, nothing's wrong here, those type of things. And then, maybe making you promises. And then you get on campus, once you sign that letter, there's not much you can do, right? So once you get on campus, they can do kind of wherever you want. That's why I feel you see a lot of people transferring and things like that. But then I'll also just say that nothing's, again, kind of to my point earlier, you don't want anything handed to you. It feels better when you have to earn and grind to achieve the things that you want to achieve. So, whenever you do make that transition to the next level and early on things don't go well for you, that's not a time to start pointing fingers or saying, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else because it's going to be an easier path, here and there. I think that's the time where you find out more about who you are as a person, and understand that, this is not easy. Like, you're going to have to grind. You're going to have some setbacks, but those setbacks are going to help you be a better person, but also a better player down the road. And if you're able to overcome that, you'll just see, you are appreciated a lot more because you knew you had to fight and grind for it. And then, it'll just make you a better player and person down the road as well.
Along those same lines, Chris, have you had a failure or an apparent failure that set you up later for success during your playing career? I guess what I'm trying to ask you is do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Favorite failure. I mean, I think my favorite failure probably would be by the end of uh, my stint in Chicago. Things kind of got changed a little bit. The culture changed a little bit. There's coaching changes. I wasn't happy with playing time, and during those moments, I became like really selfish. My energy level. It was kind of a like not care attitude, to where I wasn't preparing as hard as I could have prepared. I wasn't putting in the extra work that I should have been putting. And then probably about 20 games, left in the season, it was kind of like that. I had a conversation with actually Adrian Griffin. He wasn't even on the team now, but Adrian at that time. But he was just like, "Hey, man, you're being evaluated every single day. Not only by your team, your coaching staff, but every arena. There's GMs, there's scouts, there's someone out there that if the Bulls are not the right fit for you, they may want to bring you, to their locker room. And if you're going out there with this nonchalant attitude and you're not putting in the work, why would they trust in bringing you, to their organization, as well? Because, as we all know, players, we talk, we have our own fraternity. So do coaches. They have their talk, they have their own fraternity. So do GMs and so on and so on. So he was like, you always want to put the right foot forward. So I think that was kind of a time to where it was like I had to make that adjustment and change my mindset until as far as understanding it's a business and really focus on trying to get better, and was able to play well those last 20 games when I did get the opportunity, which gave me the opportunity to go to New York and become the starting point guard with the Knicks. So that was one of the failures that I had that I was really and that's something that I use all the time to make sure that players know that you're always being evaluated, you're always being watched. So not when you think no one is watching you, that could be the most important time where somebody is really actually watching you. So you always want to continue to grow, continue to get better, continue to have a great attitude, control what you can control. You can control your attitude, you can control your effort, you can control your work ethic. And then, even if it doesn't fit for this team or if it fits in this current situation, that consistency somewhere down the road, you will see it all come to fruition.
So I'm not going to call you an old head, because that would mean that Mark and I are also around that old head territory as well.
Yes.
And so I would not like that. We'll reference you as an older head.
Thank you.
But I feel like there's this separation a bit in terms of how people view the current state of college basketball, right? Um, and so sometimes I feel like it's generational. Sometimes it's just about like different perspectives. But when you view what college basketball currently is, and that obviously that includes NIL, that includes transfer portals, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on the current state of things? Are you happy with the fact that players have so much more freedom and the ability to kind of choose their own path, choose their own destiny? Are there frustrations? What vibe do you get from the current state of things?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it's kind of like you don't know where to, because everything's kind of happening so fast, and then it's like no rules to anything. So it's like kind of like, kind of hard to get a grasp of everything. And then it's also, like you said, it's kind of a different generation. Like we were, you know, taught a different way, or we grew up a different way. We didn't have access to everything that these current players have access to. So it's kind of different mindsets and things like that. I think it's uh, tough on a game of college basketball because it's that's kind of where you like to follow and have like a story with certain players. Like that's kind of where you meet your favorite player and then you want to see how they do at the next level, and then you get to see them play for 3 years at and what's your favorite school and things like that, and they do well, and then you follow their career, and then now it's like, oh, I thought he was, with Michigan, but now he's at, Arizona, like kind of like what's going on. And then, for me, just kind of that's when it comes down to which, I try not to judge, and everyone's situation is completely different. But it's kind of one of those, okay, did something happen where somebody else got better and he didn't like the situation and he ran off to the easier path, that type of deal. I think with the, NIL, it's just, it's become a business, and you got to also understand people's situation as well. A lot of these kids don't come from money, and you start throwing out figures like that to where they can help their families and things like that. It makes sense that you see these guys make the jump from here to here, to be able to, to help their families. So there's a lot of mixed emotion because I miss, having building those rivalries like, Raymond Felton and myself did, or Steve Blake and myself did, and Juan Dixon. And that, each year coming in, it's like, here they go again, like round 3, round 4, round 5. But now it's tough to see those things and see those type of matchups anymore. I agree that, players obviously should, be getting paid for obviously a lot of the money that they bring to the university. But I don't also believe that it should be, a free for all. I don't think that it should be like I think there needs to be some rules in place with that. I don't have the answer. I'm not smart enough. That's above my pay grade. But I think to help college basketball, because like at the end of the day, who's it really hurting? It's hurting a lot of these high school kids, right? Because with the freedom to continue to transfer as much as you want, whenever you want to go, as a college coach, why would you want to put the time? Now you're making it more NBA, G League type on the college level because you would rather a junior who's played in the college level, for 2 years to come and integrate them into your system than, a 17, 18-year-old freshman who has no college experience and going through those type of growing pains. So on a coaching general manager mindset, it makes sense that you see these, colleges wanting to get grad transfers and wanting to get transfers from other places or older, bringing older to stay older, than having to go to the growing pains of younger kids that, have to, to learn how to play on the college level, understand the speed, understand everything like that. So I think that at the end of the day, that's where who's getting hurt the most is, these the high school seniors that are, obviously not your top 50, but the ones beyond that, the ones that you're guys that are going to have to grind and kind of get better, it's hurting them because, they now have to make decisions quick. They don't have the luxury of really filling out a college and getting to know them because, if you don't sign in that early period, they're not looking at you beyond that. They're as soon as if you don't sign early with them right then and there, once the season's over, they're seeing who's transferring and who else they can bring in that already has experience, and they're getting kind of left behind in that aspect. So I think there's a lot of things you got to do to kind of fix it. But I just kind of miss the rivalry as far as guys kind of growing up together, competing on that college level with the same team, and those developing those type of rivalries.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think we'll ever see a day where obviously a player could go professional, they could go to the G League? Do you think we'll ever see the return of a high school player going directly to the NBA? Because right now you have to be 19 years old.
Um, I mean, I think so, just because of how a lot of these kids in high school are reclassified, right? So it just you reclassify
Mhm.
2 years.
Mhm.
You're a 19-year-old senior in high school or 18, but you're going to turn 19, whatever, and then you can be eligible for the draft. Uh, I mean, I don't think they will change the rule. I think as far Adam wants actually is wanting and encouraging guys to stay more than just 1 year on the college level. And then, hopefully, like I said, with, with the NIL and you're able to pay players, I thought that it would help the game of college basketball to be able to keep, these kids playing more than one or two, more than just 1 year, just on the fact that, you're getting paid, right? You're still getting paid. You have money in your pocket and things like that. It was just amazing to me that you see so many people leave and, they're not getting drafted or they're getting drafted late in the second round. And again, I guess it goes with the generation to where, in my generation, you wasn't leaving unless you were kind of guaranteed lottery pick, right? If you weren't a guaranteed lottery pick, you're staying, you're coming in for your next year, to where that mindset has changed to where guys are just trying to leave and go and chase the money. And, now you're seeing all these players that could have, spent another year in college and build their brand and that type of thing. Half the time I don't even know, where they're playing at anymore. It's just, what G League are you on? G League team that you're on now? Are you even in the league anymore? That type of thing. So, yeah, I just think that he won't change the age range. I think it will always still be 19. And, he's just kind of I'm hoping that, these kids that, especially now they're getting paid, have better guidance into, hey, let's really develop yourself as a player, as a person, that type of thing, to where when you do go, you're really ready to go and play right away instead of, kind of bouncing around from G League team to G League team. And, you can always get lost in the shuffle in that.
I do really appreciate your perspective on all that, though, because it's not one size fits all, right? Every individual player, every individual program, every individual coach is going to have something going on, and so it's interesting to hear you speak on it. Can you imagine a world where you were a rising freshman in college around this time in this state of college basketball? How do you think you would handle being like, class of 2027, 2028, whatever class we got going on right now?
Right. Oh, man, I have no idea. How immature I was back then. Man, it would be, and that's what you got to understand. Like we, especially when you start giving money and things like that, we forget that, these are 17-year-old kids that are still 18-year-old kids that are still learning and finding themselves and, about to start paying their own bills for the first time and things like that. And we're, making them make, grown men decisions. I know, with the social media aspect and things like that, man, I can't imagine what I would be doing at this time. So, my older self would be like, yeah, I'd have been able to handle it. But if I really think back, it'd have been some issues for me as well.
Chris, one of the things I wanted to ask you too, outside of basketball, you're looking to get for your hobbies, what is it like you like to do outside of the game of basketball when you're not coaching, when you're not playing?
For me, just, I have 5 kids. So, being a dad, being a husband is fun. Golf, I've really got into golf. So, been, playing a lot of golf, things like that. So, but again, with 5 kids, my day never stops. So it's, basketball, it's dance, it's cheerleading, it's soccer, it's, someone has something going on every single day. So being, I guess an AAU sports dad, has been kind of my hobby of late.
All that traveling, man, I can't even imagine like what it must be like having
Lewis,
to go around.
Is there anything
for,
else you want to
things
get
like
to?
that.
This has been awesome.
Oh, just traveling. What has that been like for you to? I mean, is the upcoming freshman, is that your oldest?
Yeah, he's my oldest. Yeah.
So basketball, dance, like all these different things. How much are you all traveling to different things as like a family type?
Yeah, the worst part is that, we can't do it as a family all the time. It's divide and conquer. So it's like, she has to go with my daughter to soccer, and I have to go with Jeremy here, and then we switch and we flip it up because they always, everything now is like year round. It used to be, AAU was from, June to August, and then that was it. But now, AAU is like year round. So, just kind of trying to figure out the schedules and things like that. But, it's also a fun time just to give them the experience of playing people in different states and, things like that. And, them being able to, already get that kind of team camaraderie with staying with their friends at hotels and things like that. So, it's been fun, I guess traveling, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, pre-scheduling, making sure that we have all 5 kids, because it's easy to leave 1 or 2 every now and then.
Chris, I noticed a little bit of twinkle in your eye knowing that the school year is about to start. And with 5 kiddos, I can only imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you used to dread the first couple of days of school to now you're like circling on the calendar, like you can't wait. It's like some extra sleep. Just get out the house. I need some peace and quiet.